Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Um, Welcome to the introduction lecture of financial reporting. We'll be studying for the June 21 attempt, right? The code of this course is FR. You know that ACCA made some changes like some time ago, and the codes were changed from the numbers, for example, F6 and all that, F6, F5, F7. It was changed to FR, PM, TX, and all that, right? So the course code that we have is FR, right? Now, let's see how let's see what the course consists of and how we'll go about it. Because obviously, um, the right strategy will always get you the right marks, okay? Your strategy to study is the only strategy that will get you the right marks. For example, we certainly might have students who are, let's say, giving it for the second time or third time, right? If you're giving it for the second or third time, you obviously need to reassess your strategy for, to prepare yourself for this paper, right? Financial reporting itself is, to some extent, yes, it's a technical paper, right? Technicality lies within the understanding of the accounting standards specifically, right? So, because obviously, when I show you the syllabus, the structure, you'll see that most amount of concentration is within the accounting standards. You understand the accounting standards well, you're good to go. Okay. Now, if you look at the structure, right? The structure of financial reporting basically helps you, it's coming from your financial accounting, which is previously known as F3, right? The direct knowledge of financial accounting is being applied in FR, plus some extra knowledge, obviously, not some, to a great extent, you have to apply the extra knowledge, right? The skills and knowledge that you acquire in FR help you in AA as well, which is your audit and insurance. For those who have already given the audit insurance paper, you guys probably know that your financial standards, your reporting standards basically are tested in audit insurance, right? And then obviously, FR helps you in SBR and in AAA. SBR is your strategic business reporting, which is your professional levels essential paper, right? And AAA is your advanced audit insurance. That is if you want to opt for this paper, right? Whatever knowledge you have, like you get in FR, I would say that FR is the it basically decides whether you will be able to pass SBR and triple in the first attempt or not. Trust me on this. Your knowledge, whatever knowledge you acquire in FR, will help you assess whether you can pass SBR in the first attempt or not. Trust me on this. And I've seen students, you know, I've literally, in fact, I've had students, not even seen students, I've had students who were very good in FR, right? Like they were very good with accounting standards, but you know where they lacked? Because the testing pattern of FR and SBR is very different. Okay. So essentially, obviously, SBR is part of the professional level, yes, and it's essential. You cannot qualify without passing FR or without passing SBR, right? So the thing is that you have to study FR with the perspective that you also have to give SBR, right? It's not an option. You have to give it in order to be qualified. Okay. And the thing is, the example I was giving you of the students, one of the student I know, he was my student only. He was very good with the accounting standards, right? You know what the problem was? His expertise lied in memorizing the stuff. Regardless, basically, he didn't focus on going behind the logic. His entire focus was on memorizing the accounting standards. So it was like, if scenario A comes like this is going to be the answer. If scenario B, this is going to be the answer. Scenario C, so it's like, he had all these scenarios in his mind and he knew the answers to all of them. He passed FR with, as far as I remember, he passed FR around 80 or 82, right? I guess it was 80, right? But then when SPR came, right, he failed for in the first attempt. He couldn't pass the first attempt of SBR. You know why? Because, like I said, his his criteria was to memorize, make scenarios and memorize. That's all, which is entirely wrong in any ACCA paper. All right, and literally in any ACCA paper, it's entirely wrong. You cannot, create scenarios and memorize those scenarios. You have to be adaptable. You have to be, you should have the capacity to mold yourself according to the scenario. All right, and the scenario that matters is only, you know okay, for example, what scenarios you think he would have learned and he would have memorized? The scenarios that were already part of the kit, that were already tested, that the examiner had already tested on, right? Do you think those scenarios, exact same the scenarios, will be repeated in the exam paper, in your exam paper? No, right? So, creating scenarios and memorizing the answers to those scenarios is useless in this case, because you will not get the same. Yes, similar. You might get a similar case. In fact, you certainly will get a similar case, but you will never get the same case. All right. So you have to be adaptable. You have to make sure that when you're learning something, you go behind the logic. You try to understand the logic rather than just memorize. You create scenarios and memorize. Okay, and this will obviously go a long way. Your knowledge that you acquire in FR will help you in ICW as well, if you plan to give ICW, right? Advanced level corporate reporting, because obviously, like I said, this over here, financial accounting, the knowledge that you get in financial accounting is like, um, you can, it's like for a basic accountant, right? You can call yourself an accountant uh, when you're done with financial accounting, right? You know the basics of accounting, but this decides where you're headed with respect to the reporting, the field of reporting, basically, right? If you want to be like, an auditor, for example, in the Big Four, if you want to be part of a corporate reporting department of an MNC, right? FR decides where you're headed. You put all your efforts in FR, SBR will be like a piece of cake for you. All right. And if SBR is a piece of cake for you, you're good to go. No one's going to stop you from, passing the advanced level corporate reporting while still doing the first attempt, or, diploma IFR, or whatever you want to do in the reporting field, you can do. Right. So obviously, and something, that financial reporting is the key to any field. I believe, I hope you guys know Warren Buffett, right? And I always quote him when I talk about this. Warren Buffett says, if you want to be a great analyst, right? If you want to be a great investor, analyst is another thing, investor is something else, right? Investor is also an analyst, right? That's why he becomes, a great investor. A good analyst will always be a great investor, right? Remember one thing, and this is what he said: you need to know the taxes and you need to know accounting. These two things are very important, because if you're investing in a business, you need to know what type of, or what resources are being utilized and where they're being utilized, right? For example, taxes, right? You're just giving it to the government so that you can utilize the resources of the government. For example, infrastructure, for example, the trade routes that the government has provided you with, and all that stuff, right? That's one thing. Second thing, you learn accounting. You basically, accounting is what exactly you think is accounting, right? Accounting, if you learn it well, right, you would be able to talk to a report, simply a report, right? And this is what he's an expert at. What do you think Warren Buffett does? He reads a lot of financial statements during the entire year, right? A lot of filings and a lot of financial statements. That's what he does, right? And why would a person, or what enables him to read it? What enables him to read and interpret the information that is there in the financial statements? He knows all these accounting standards. Don't you think he would know all these accounting standards? Don't you think he would know the impact of these accounting standards? Certainly he does, right? He knows all of these things. That's why he's an expert at reading and interpreting the information given in the financial statements. You guys understand? So the thing is that the importance of financial reporting, it's not just if you want to be an auditor at PwC or an auditor at KPMG, right? You go anywhere, you want to be a great investor, you need to know the reporting. Otherwise you won't be able to read, simple financial statement, and based on that, because if probably some of you are employed already, I hope, and some probably you guys, one of you or two of you are part of the financial analysis or the analyst side of the business, research side, you would know that it requires a lot of research and analysis just to bring out one good investment. Okay, if you want to make one good investment which is giving you, let's say, 10% per annum or 12% per annum or 15% per annum, right? You need to make sure that your research is on point, your analysis is on point, and you can only do that if you're equipped with the right skills. Okay, and the right skills, like, I would say this is one of the most this is one of the key skills that you can acquire, and you're blessed because you're part of ACC and this is a compulsory paper, right? So it's like you have to get this knowledge. You cannot call yourself an ACCA without getting this knowledge. So why not make ultimate use of it? Simple as that. Okay, now if we look at the syllabus outline, I've made a key for you guys. I've obviously listed the all topics that come in your financial reporting paper, and I've made a key for you guys. Okay, so the first topic that we have is the conceptual framework or the structure of, within this topic, obviously we'll learn the structure of IASB as well, the IFRS Foundation, the ISB. You have IFRS Interpretations Committee, you have IFRS Advisory Council, right? What their roles are, what their responsibilities are, and then we'll move on to the conceptual framework. I call conceptual framework as the Bible of accounting. Okay, because it's like the basis of everything. It's the basis of all the standards. It's the basis of the entire accounting that we look at in today's world. Okay, that's what conceptual framework is, right? The Bible of accounting, number one. Then we'll move on to we'll move stand by standard. Okay, so we have this list of standards: IS1, IS2, 7, 8, 10, 12, right? You have all these standards which are tested as part of your syllabus. These include standards with respect to consolidation as well. I've highlighted these, right? There are certain standards that I haven't mentioned over here. For example, IS 27, IFRS 7, IFRS 12. IFRS 7, IFRS 12 are disclosure based standards, right? You don't get, like, ACCA does not test you on the preparation of disclosures. You don't need to prepare the disclosures in ACCA, right? IS 27, separate financial statements. It's like a small chunk which we'll cover when we study IS 28. Okay. The rest of the stands are in front of you, right? I have, like I said, made a key for you guys. So A is like, you need to be at par with this knowledge, right? If you're not, forget 50. Okay, you can land anywhere below 50, but forget 50. All right. And B is where you need, the basic working knowledge. Like if you get numericals on it, you should be able to work out the basics. If you get a theory on it, you should be able to form an answer around the theory, right? And then you have C, which is, I don't think you can see, right? There's no C over here, because you need at least the basic working knowledge of each and every topic, each and every standard as well. So like I told you earlier as well, most of the syllabus is concentrated around the accounting standards. In F3, which is financial accounting, right? We saw some accounting standards. For example, we saw IS1, IS2, we saw IS7, we saw IS10, we saw IS16, IS38, right? These basic standards you saw in F3 as well. But more detail is added to these standards when you come in financial reporting. All right. In the end, which is, I'm quoting it right now. Okay. Wherever you go, remember this area is the weakest. And this is not, I have already witnessed it, I know it, right? But this is what the examiner also says, right? Ratio analysis is also called, it's, I call it ratio analysis, but the name of the topic is interpretation of financial statements, right? Now, ratio analysis is just one way of interpreting the information in the financial statements. Okay. Why is it the weakest area? Because, I feel that that's what my understanding is. I've been teaching for the last 7 years now. I know that this is, in fact, the most appropriate understanding. Students fail to communicate through numbers. Like they don't understand how to communicate through numbers. The point is, if you've got simple words, like if you've got sentences, right, you can easily interpret what the sentences are saying. But when those sentences form part of numbers, right? So let's say you have a summary of what the chairman said. Let's say the chairman said that revenue increased by 10% because let's say new product was introduced, for example, or new line of service was introduced, right? That's why the overall revenue increased by 10%, right? Now, this is just a basic information. Obviously, in the question, you would have, you would get, let's say, 20x7 and 20x6. This is the previous year, this is the current year, right? If this is 1000, increase of 10% would be what? 1100, right? 1100, correct? That reflects a 10% increase, right? But when you go down the line, okay, when you go down the line, you might see that the profitability has decreased, even though the revenue increased by 10%, but the profitability decreased by, let's say, obviously I'm assuming this is just an example, right? Let's say the profitability decreased by 8%. You know what the students fail to identify? Why do you think the chairman is focusing on the revenue and not the profits? Ultimately, every shareholder is concerned about the profits, not the revenue. You don't take out dividends. You don't take dividends out from the revenue. You take it out from the profit. That's like a distribution. Dividend is what the shareholders are concerned about when they're invested in the business. Dividends are what they're concerned about, right? And when they're concerned with dividends is basically the distribution of profit. It's not the distribution of revenue, right? The thing is, why do you think chairman is focused towards revenue, not the profitability? It's simple, because the profit fell, revenue increased, right? Your assumption or the information, I'm just assuming all of these things, okay? One of the interpretation could be that the business introduced a product that probably has a higher fixed cost to produce. Don't you think this could be an interpretation? Revenue is increasing by 10%, profitability is falling by 8%. Probably because the margins are very low, right? And you probably wouldn't have sold enough units to realize an increase in profitability as well. So this probably could reflect high operational gearing. Operational gearing is where your fixed cost ratio is higher as compared, a higher fixed cost ratio and of an overall cost, right? So let's say if the fixed cost ratio of the total cost is, let's say, 60% as compared to 40%, 60% is higher operational gearing, right? And I'm just taking an assumption, like I said, this is what the students probably would fail to identify. Examiner does not want you to state the obvious, and students enjoy this the most when they come out of an exam. And I've literally seen students saying that to me, after exam they message me, so this is what the question asked and this is what we wrote, okay? And I obviously I reply them back, but I do it like after 2 3 days, and they know that probably I'm pissed about something, or you know they have done something wrong, but their excitement shows that they believe they've done everything right, which certainly is not the case, right? Examiner, like I repeat, examiner at this stage, you're not part of F3 anymore, and you're headed towards SBR. The examiner wants you to be ready for SBR. All right. In the beginning, I just told you the huge difference between SBR and FR. Okay. So the examiner wants you to be ready for SBR. Okay. Number one. Number two, if you state the obvious, right? Stating the obvious does not, for example, you calculate this increase and you say that yes, the revenue increased by 10%, probably because there was a new product that was introduced, already stated by the chairman, right? Sorry, I guess the screen. All right. So that has already been stated by the chairman. Why do you why are you repeating it? Whatever information you have in the question, use that and build upon it. Build your analysis upon it. That is what will get you the marks. Simple as that, okay? You don't need to repeat what the examiner has said, what the case is saying, for example. You don't need to, let's say, put out information that is already obviously there. Okay, what you essentially do is just take out from the question paper and jot it on the answer sheet. There are no marks for it. Okay, the reason why this area and the reason why I'm focusing on it right now is because mentally you need to be aware of different situations. You need, again, like I said, it's interpretation of financial statements, right? Interpretation of financial statements, ratio analysis is just one tool that can help you interpret the information in the financial statements. Okay, if you're not gonna, let's say, you need to, again, there are weak areas. I understand every student has a weak area. Okay, I've had students who got literally more than 90 in their I've got students who got 92 93 in their financial accounting F3. Okay, and when it was F3 they were very good with interpretation of FS, right? Because that was just simple ratio analysis. But when they came to F7 FR, right, financial reporting, it became their weakest part, because all they knew was the formula of gearing, the formula of asset turnover, the formula of current ratio. They didn't know exactly how to interpret it, right? Despite that, they managed to do the paper. They got very good marks. I was very happy. But the problem was when they came to F7, I saw where they lacked, and that's obviously then we worked on it. But the point is that don't make this don't the reason why I'm telling you this is because wherever you go, right, wherever you start your studies, F7 studies from, right, just make sure that this is the area you have to work on. And I'll tell you why as well. Weakest area will get tested for sure. Interpretation of financial statements gets tested all the time. Okay, in section C, in section, um, section, it could get tested in section A and B as well. But the point is, section C is the most favorite area because these are long questions, right? These are long questions. This is like the most favorite area of the examiner test, interpretation of financial statements. Okay, the exam structure, let's break it down and then I'll explain you further as well. 100 marks, obvious. It's you know obviously it's a CBE paper, right? I guess there's a error in the presentation. It's not an on-demand CV. You have papers in March. This is the term that we're studying for. September and December. Okay, so duration is for 3 hours. You've got three sections, A, B, and C. Section A, you've got 15 OTQs. OTQs are objective test questions. So they're like, you'll get a very small, like a small scenario, for example, just like a normal MCQ. So OTQs is like, I would say, a new name for the MCQs. Okay. So each OTQ is worth 2 marks. Section A makes it 30 marks, right? Section B, you have three OCQs. OCQs are objective case questions. So objective case questions, like you'll get a one big scenario, and from that scenario you'll get 5 questions, 5 MCQs, and each MCQ will be worth 2 marks, right? So it's like each scenario is three OCQs, right? So each OCQ will basically have 5 MCQs, or the new name is OTQs, right? Which is worth 2 marks each. So total 10 marks for one case. And you'll have 3 cases, so that's 30. Okay. Section C, most favorite part of the examiner, 2 constructive response questions. Constructive response questions are basically long questions, right? Examiner has not set any particular syllabus area for section A and B, but section C, you will get interpretation of financial statements, right? And you might get a single entity financial statements, within which you can get, let's say, either a SOCI, statement of comprehensive income, you can get an SOFP, which is statement of financial position, or you can get a statement of cash flow, right? Or you can get consolidation. Okay. So it's like mainly 2 areas, because interpretation of financial statements will be there. Okay. So you can get single entity SOCI, SOFP, or SOCF. SOCF is statement of cash flows. SOFP is statement of financial position. SOCI is statement of comprehensive income, right? Or you can get group. Group is basically consolidation. Consolidated SOCF is not part of your syllabus. It's part of SBR. All right. Consolidated SOCI, SOFP. You can also get single entity SOCI, which is statement of changes in equity. Okay. And you can get these three, SOCI, SOFP, and SOCI, in one question also. All right. So yes, the examiner can get brutal sometimes, but does not mean that, you know, I always say one thing. The exam, be it any attempt, any paper, any course, whatever it is, right? Any professional qualification, I would say, will always have at least, at most, I don't know, but at least 50 easy marks. All right. All you need is an eye for it. That's it. And that eye you can only get when you're prepared for the paper. Simple as that, right? Your preparation, and I'll come back to what I said earlier, your preparation strategy decides how good you have, like how good your eye is for that, right? For those 50 marks, 50 easy marks. All right. But definitely all papers in ACCA, every attempt will have 50 easy marks, at least. At most, like I said, could be 60, 65, 70, right? Depends. But at least 50 easy marks. Okay. That means passing is always possible. All right. Now, what would be our resources? My lectures. I'll give you Excel based notes as well. So these are the Excel based notes, right? You have IS1, you've got IS2, right? IS8, you can see all these standards. Okay, so these are my Excel based notes, which you will get. These are all detailed notes, right? The reason I use Excel, because it's easier to have all the things in one place. The descriptive notes, the calculations, the formulas and everything. So I started using this, one of the students suggested me to, because I had notes in paper format, and then the calculation, because you have to use Excel in your exam paper now. Using the formula sometimes, understanding the formula, not using understanding the formula for students sometimes gets difficult, right? So everything in one place. All right, you will get all these Excel sheets. Okay. Book reading is always recommended, always. Okay, it's always recommended. We will use the Kaplan kit for our kit practice, and technical articles. For me, technical articles are key. All right, you cannot enter an exam without reading the technical articles. Simple as that. That's the basic formula. There's one other resource that you can use, which is called ifrsbox.com. It has great articles on your, accounting standards and different issues of accounting standards, right? Which is, it's now called CPD box, by the way. cpdbox.com. These articles are free. Okay, so you can read them. Obviously, if you have any issues, you can get back to me. Okay, so IFRS box, CPD box, this is a resource that we'll use as well. All right. So again, 5 resources: my lectures, including my notes, Kaplan book, reading is recommended, Kaplan kit for the practice, technical articles for additional information, additional knowledge, working knowledge on the paper, right? And CPD and IFRS box for basically research-based knowledge, right, around the accounting standards. Okay, this is our approach. Simple, topic by topic. That means we study each topic, which essentially in our syllabus is a standard, right? It's an accounting standard. Okay, so we'll do an accounting standard, or we'll, let's say, ratio analysis, interpretation of financial statements, or conceptual framing. We'll do one topic, do the kit, second topic kit, third topic kit, fourth topic kit. So we'll, like, topic and kit go hand in hand. All right, at the end of the course, revision. Revision will be mainly through technical articles. Number one, guys, listen. Revision will be mainly through technical articles. Number one. Number two, revision will consist of a fast track, like literally a fast track, overview of the accounting standards, all accounting standards. So basically, I'll, you know, I would say, like, I'll recite the accounting standards to you, right? And I'll sing the accounting standards to you, and you can just absorb whatever you can, right? So you guys will be like, I've had these sessions in the past, they're effective. Okay. Um, you guys will be on mute. Okay, and I'll just go on with the accounting standards. I'll stop, let's say, wherever I get a message that, can you please repeat, or anything like that, and that's all. So we'll cover at least 10 accounting standards in 2 hours. So imagine the pace. Okay, so obviously that's one thing, that's one part of the revision. The second part is technical articles and IFRS box. Okay, at the end, after the revision, mock, and then you're ready for getting whatever you have aimed for. Okay, position, your choice. 50, your choice. 60s, 70s. Again, I never ever tell my students that we're working for positions only. Okay, because again, I don't want to mess up with your mind, I don't want to mess up with your comfort zone. Just try to get 50 at least, because otherwise you won't be able to move on to the next papers. Simple as that. Okay, yes, you need to get out of your comfort zone sometimes, but it's not like you have to stay out all the time. All right, it will mess up with your head. Okay, so the thing is that, again, it's your target, your aim, your qualification. I'm here to help. Whatever help you need, obviously I will always be here, right? One last thing, and then I'll allow you guys to ask me questions, whatever questions you guys have. FAQs, very important. I've, like, over the past 5 years, I've started noting down these questions. These are the 4 most frequent questions that I get. Is the paper theory and numerical? Both. Both. Can you allot percentages? 60% theory, 40%? No. It's both. All right. Just, you need to get out of your comfort zone in this case. Okay. Is there any issue in future if anyone get? No, there's no issue in getting 50 or 80 or 90. A person who's qualified, let's say within 2.5 years, you will get into Big Four, regardless of getting 50 or 80 or 90. Does not matter. Trust me on this, right? What type of options will you get in the exam? You can have multiple options. For example, you can get fill in the blank, right? You can get, like I said, MCQ based. Oh, sorry. So fill in the blank, right? Choose the right option. Out of 4 options, you'll have to choose one. Out of 6 options, you'll probably have to choose two. Out of 5 options, you'll have to choose three, right? So there could be various combinations. All right. So choose. So like I said, you might also get match the correct answer, true and false, right? So again, the thing is, you can be tested in any particular way depending on the examiner. That's not in your control. That will never be in your control. The method of testing will never be in your control. You need to focus on something, on whatever you can control, which is acquiring the knowledge, acquiring the skills to clear the paper. Simple as that. Okay. Is book reading important? Not mandatory, right? It's not compulsory, it's not mandatory, but like I said, I recommend, right? My recommendation will always be to read the book. Students who read the book are literally, and I've seen this, I can easily differentiate between the students who've read the book and the ones who haven't, right? It's easy to differentiate. And, the examiner also differentiates between their marks. Trust me. Okay. What should be the studying strategy while we are still on the lectures? For example, we've covered 3 standards so far. Okay. I would expect you guys to at least revise the first one that we did. At least. Okay. So it's like on every three, you have to revise at least one. That's my strategy. Okay. That is the strategy that I recommend. On every three new, revise at least one. If you're at par with the last two, perfect. If you're par with the last three, that's more than perfect. All right. But at least 1 out of 3. For example, we covered IS1, IS2, let's say IS8. I expect you to revise at least IS1 by the time we move on to the 4th standard. Okay. So that is what the studying strategy would be. And yes, I have a habit of randomly asking questions in the class with regards to the previous topics that we've covered. I practice this, it's like I do this all the time. Sometimes students get embarrassed because they haven't revised the stuff, and there are students who probably follow the strategy that I tell them, and you know, again, examiner will help you differentiate yourself between other students. As compared to other students. Reason being, your preparation strategy, if it's in line with what I've told you. Guarantees, I never give guarantees, but yes, statistics tell that students have, those who followed my strategy have been, more successful in passing the paper, and it became very easy for them to pass the paper. All right. Um, in the end, obviously, I'll just give you permission to unmute. If you have any questions, you can message on the chat and I'll answer. So Alia Zehra is saying, "Sir, can I hear your voice?" Oh, sorry, Alia. Alia, were you able to hear me? I didn't see your message earlier. Sorry. Sanjay Verma is saying voice is breaking in between. Okay. Is there any issue? No, I already answered that. In how many months will we finish it? Okay, that's a good question. Approximately, my target is to finish by 15th of May. All right. That's like worst case scenario. 15th of May, I'll finish the course. All right. That includes practice. That includes, it does not include revision, by the way, because revision, I keep a 3-day revision, uh, you know, revision course, right? So this does not include revision, but it includes all the practice, like practice for all the topics and at least 95% of the kit. So all topics plus practice, 95% of the kit. Okay, because the 5% is like it's on you to do it because I'll give you some homework as well. Okay, so yes. Any other questions? Yes, 3 days are enough for revision. For the revision classes, Sanjay, not for your revision, because your revision will start the moment we complete 3 standards. The first 3 standards and your revision needs to start. Simple as that. Okay. So the the towards the end, let's say 15. So I'll keep a revision session 20th onwards. So I'll give a 5-day break for you guys to go through the entire thing, right? And then from 20th onwards, I'll keep a 3-day revision. Usually it's 2.5 to 3 hours per session, right? So good 6 hours or 9 hours depending on how many hours we're doing per session. And it also depends on your preparation as well. So if you're well prepared, if you've revised, if you're like, if you've practiced the question I told you to practice, and you were alert during the class as well, even 2 hours is more than enough for you. At that time, it would be more than enough for you. Why are students joining towards the end of the session? Normal class will range anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 hours, but it's hardly 2.5 hours. I usually take, I end the class at when 2 hours are over. So like it basically depends on the topic we're studying. Trust me on this. So if the topic takes, let's say, 45 minutes to cover, I'll start another topic, which will take another 45 minutes. So 1.5 hours, right? But if the topic is like a longer topic, let's say financial instruments, it usually takes 2 hours to complete. Not the entire financial instruments. It takes 2 hours, 2 classes to complete financial instruments. In the week, you'll have 2 live and 1 recorded class. Any other questions, guys? No questions? Yeah, sure. All right. If you guys come across any other questions, if you have any other queries, you can contact me at this number. Okay. Please drop a WhatsApp message with your name and your query, and I'll respond back as soon as I can. Okay. Sanjay, you have another question, I guess. Most probably when this batch will be started. All right. This batch will start from, let me give you a date, from 25th onwards. Okay. And guys, remember one thing, finishing the course, that's up to me. All right. That's a stress that I should be taking, not you. You need to focus on what I've taught, what I've asked you to revise, what I've asked you to practice. All right. You need to take the stress of that only. Okay. Nothing else. Finishing the course, revision, making sure that there are practices on point, making sure that the content is on point. That's my, it's my headache. It's not your headache. Okay. So you have to relax when it comes to this. All right. Your job is to do whatever practice I ask you to do. It's, for example, if you have 10 questions, I'll make you do 8 questions in the class. Like we'll do 8 questions together in the class. Out of those 8 questions, probably I'll do 6 questions for you, and I'll ask you to do two questions right away, right, in the class only, right? And for the remaining, let's say 4 questions, I'll give you as homework, right? So that's the strategy. Okay. And homework does not mean that you take the homework and you forget about it. It means I expect you to send me an Excel sheet with your working on it, all right, so that I can check and I can revert back. Entire practice will be through Excel and Word, nothing else. All right. Usually it's Excel because theoretical questions you don't have to explain anything. But yes, longer questions when you get an explanation, we'll use Word, right? But please make sure that you've arranged a laptop or a PC before before the classes start, because I honestly don't entertain paper based answers now, right? Because if the examiner is not entertaining, who am I to entertain it? Simple as it. Okay. So please make sure that you have your Excel sheets. Obviously, the basic Excel knowledge is you can expect me to give it during the class only, right? I'll tell you how to use it. I'll tell you what formulas you will be able to use in the in the exam, because you cannot use all the shortcuts. You cannot use any shortcuts, and you can use only some formulas. Okay. So that's the case. Anything else, guys?